Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So believe it or not, a lot of people are actually picking Manny Pacquiao to win this fight. And if they're not picking Manny Pacquiao to win this fight, they see this as a pick'em fight. But that doesn't really surprise me because Manny Pacquiao's age is not really a factor, considering the fact he only fights once or twice a year. I mean, actually, it's been a while since he fought twice a year. The more you drive your car, the more miles you put on. And Manny Pacquiao, he hasn't been putting in that many miles, which explains why he looked great against Keith Thurman and Adrian Broner. Matter of fact, Manny has been looking so good recently that even Robert Garcia, he is giving Manny Pacquiao a really good chance to win this fight. Robert Garcia was talking to Fight Hype and he was talking about Errol Spence, and this is what he said, quote, "He's a basic fighter, you know? He does everything correctly. He's not a flashy guy. He doesn't look like one of those guys where you're like, wow, did you see that?" I would say with the power, you gotta go with Manny Pacquiao. I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls it off. This is really interesting coming from Robert Garcia, considering the fact that his brother that he trains, the only defeat he has on his record is against Errol Spence. It's not just the fact that he lost, but how he lost. He was completely dominated. He was actually outboxed. Errol Spence was able to beat Mikey Garcia at his own game. You see, usually when a smaller guy moves up in weight, he has an advantage with his skills, right? He may not have the power or the size, but his boxing intelligence and defense usually makes up for that. Well, Mikey didn't even have that advantage going into this fight. But I do agree with Robert Garcia and a lot of people when they say the fight could go either way. Manny Pacquiao has a very good chance of winning this fight. This is not an easy fight for Errol Spence. This is the same Manny Pacquiao that fought Floyd Mayweather. This is the same Manny Pacquiao that fought Tim Bradley. I mean, when Manny Pacquiao fought Keith Thurman, the crazy thing is he was dancing circles around Keith Thurman. He made Thurman look so slow, it looked like Thurman was the 40-year-old fighter. And Manny was like the 20-something-year-old. So yeah, I can see some people picking Manny Pacquiao to win this fight. I mean, even Chris Colbert, he's actually picking Manny Pacquiao. He didn't even say it could go either way. He's picking Manny Pacquiao, and he says it's because Errol Spence is flat-footed. But remember, Chris Colbert, he also picked Algieri and somebody else to beat Errol Spence as well. It was actually Kell Brook, so you can't really take his opinion that serious. But I take Robert Garcia's opinion a little bit more serious. Now, one thing I disagree with when it comes to Robert is he said he gives the power edge to Manny Pacquiao as well. They might be on the same level when it comes to power, but I know Errol Spence is a very vicious body puncher. This is an intriguing fight for so many reasons. First of all, it's been a long time since Manny Pacquiao has been in there with a southpaw, especially a good southpaw. I personally think with Errol Spence, this is going to give him a much better chance of landing his jab all night. He has the reach, he has the height, and he knows how to control distance, as we've seen in the Mikey Garcia fight. Robert Garcia, he said that Errol Spence, he wasn't a wow type of fighter. Like, you see him do something and you're like, wow, did you see that? Well, that's a bit subjective because it depends on what you consider a wow moment. For example, when Errol Spence knocked out Algieri, when he knocked out Kell Brook, those were wow moments. And if he can knock out Manny Pacquiao, that will definitely be a wow moment. Manny Pacquiao, no doubt, is one of the greatest boxers of this era. So if Manny Pacquiao were to beat Errol Spence, that would be tremendous. But I gotta hurt some of you race fans' feelings and tell you the truth. When I see you guys saying things like, oh, well, if he beats Errol Spence, that means he's better than Floyd Mayweather. No, if he beats Floyd Mayweather, that makes him better than Floyd Mayweather. The funny thing is, every single thing that Manny Pacquiao does from this point on, at least in terms of being successful, it makes him look better, but it makes Floyd Mayweather look greater. Because Manny Pacquiao is accomplishing all of these things, but the one guy he could not beat was Floyd Mayweather. He could beat an Errol Spence, he could beat a Keith Thurman, he could beat an Adrian Broner, but he could not win the most important fight of his career. Whenever you beat someone and they go out and they end up winning a whole bunch of world titles, like Floyd Mayweather did, if you guys notice, when he was Pretty Boy, a lot of the champions that he beat, a lot of the contenders that he beat, they end up winning world titles and they held belts for a long time. From Diego Corrales to Jesus Chavez to Hernandez, Carlos Hernandez that is, Castillo, Canelo Alvarez. Their success made Floyd Mayweather greater because we get to see a direct comparison of how these opponents did against other fighters versus how they did against Floyd Mayweather. And it's the same situation with Manny Pacquiao. I mean, just imagine this for a second. Let's just talk hypothetical. Imagine if Manny Pacquiao does beat Errol Spence. That would mean Errol Spence couldn't beat Manny Pacquiao, but not only did Floyd Mayweather beat Manny Pacquiao, he beat a much younger Pacquiao, 6 years younger. How impressive is that? I mean, just ask yourself this question for a second. Let's reverse the roles. Let's say it was Floyd Mayweather who had already been knocked out 3 times in his career before he fought Manny Pacquiao, right? He had already been knocked out 3 times. And one of the guys that knocked him out was Juan Manuel Marquez. Remember, we're reversing the roles. Imagine if it was Floyd Mayweather who struggled 4 times with Juan Manuel Marquez. Every time he fought him, it was life or death, right? It was back and forth. And then he gets knocked out in the 4th fight. Manny Pacquiao, he fights this same Juan Manuel Marquez, beats him easy in the very first try, right? Then Floyd Mayweather fights Manny Pacquiao, and Manny Pacquiao, he beats Floyd Mayweather. To you non-black fans right now, be honest with yourself. How many of you guys would be saying, oh, it doesn't matter. Floyd Mayweather is still greater than Manny Pacquiao, right? Because once again, we're playing trading places right now. So that means Floyd Mayweather is the one with all of the accomplishments when it comes to Manny Pacquiao's accomplishments, right? He's the one that won titles in 8 different weight classes. You think any of that will matter? A guy who got knocked out 3 times and then lost to Manny Pacquiao? Do you think they would care about anything that Floyd Mayweather did from that point on? Ain't nobody gonna say, oh, well, you know, even though he couldn't beat Manny Pacquiao, I tell you what, if he comes back out of retirement or if he stays fighting and he beats Errol Spence or he beats Terrence Crawford, that'll make up for him losing to Manny Pacquiao and he'll be considered greater. How many fans do you know would say something like that in the sport of boxing? And I'm talking about the people that are saying this about Manny Pacquiao. How many of them would say that? Not one. So we know what time it is. I remember it wasn't too long ago, every single time Gary Russell got a real good win, I would see comments in the comment section, people saying, oh yeah, but he still has Lomachenko problems, right? They don't care who Gary Russell wins. They're always going to look at the fact that he was conquered by Lomachenko. And the same thing applies with Manny Pacquiao. Sugar Ray Leonard was the greatest fighter of his era, at least when it comes to the final 4, the 4 horsemen, because he was able to beat all of them. Imagine if he lost to all of them, like Roberto Duran did. Remember, a lot of these fans, they'll try to say Duran is greater than all 4 of the guys that he lost to. You think they would have said that about Sugar Ray Leonard? If he was in Roberto Duran's shoes? We know what time it is. Just like Ali was supposed to beat Sonny Liston, Frazier, and Foreman to be great. Sugar Ray Leonard was supposed to beat Hagler, Hearns, Duran to be great. Manny Pacquiao was supposed to beat Floyd Mayweather to be great. I'm not saying he's not great, but he is definitely not the greatest of that era because that was the most important fight of his career that he had to win. A win over Errol Spence would definitely be impressive. It will be very impressive. It would mean that this man is definitely one of the greatest fighters of this era. But you can't be greater than the guy that conquered you. It doesn't work that way. That's the reason why we have the fights. That's the reason why everyone wanted to see that fight, to see who was better, right? I mean, if you were going to try to take the credit away Even though Floyd Mayweather still won, then there was no reason to even want the fight in the first place. You can't cry and change the rules because your guy lost. You just gotta wipe them damn tears away and keep moving. This could possibly be Errol Spence's most toughest fight, but I still have Errol Spence winning this fight. I believe he could possibly knock out Manny Pacquiao with a body shot. Jeff Horn, he was able to bully Manny Pacquiao on the ropes. And we all know Jeff Horn is no Errol Spence. So, Errol Spence, he has two things working for him. He can fight on the inside with Manny Pacquiao, or he can keep it on the outside. Now, Manny Pacquiao definitely has the edge in hand speed and foot speed, but I think Manny is underestimating Errol Spence's foot speed because he thinks he's going to be dancing circles around Errol Spence with those angles. I don't think it's going to work against Errol Spence. But the main thing that Errol does have to watch out for is Manny Pacquiao's lethal left hand. His left hand is as dangerous as Deontay Wilder's right hand. It's one of those great equalizers where you can be up on the scorecards and, it's hard to time it the whole night, right? You may block the majority of them, but eventually you're going to get hit with that left hand. So we'll see how Errol Spence deals with it because Manny Pacquiao still has tremendous speed and he still has power. So I truly believe there's going to be a lot of drama in this fight. And if no one gets knocked out, someone is definitely going to get hurt and knocked down in this fight. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
Hello, my name is Dominic. I just got my procedure done here at South Carolina's. I was recommended by Dante's Boxing Nation. And it's real. Here's the results. The brother out here, Brother Enoch, is real, and it's a very, very, very good recommendation. I recommend it. 4 hours, you in, you out, and it's the rest of your life.
So if anyone in the world wants this hookup, make sure you contact my man Enoch at 704-499-3471 and make sure to follow him on Instagram. Check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, then this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called Elo Deki Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to elodeki.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram.